We use evidence to work with member states in two ways. One is we use the evidence to prepare our reports and our documents and our analysis and our policy documents, policy briefing notes. So we use a lot of evidence for that, which in a sense helps us build the case for that particular policy intervention. So that is the first way. The second is using those documents for advocacy purposes, and especially in those countries, because we work with member states and we work with governments, but we also work with civil society, we also work with think tanks, we also work with academic institutions in those countries. And so while the government is the one which at the end of the day makes policy, it receives inputs from various sources and from various agencies.
Well, we use evidences for different things. One of them is to advise and inform our ministers' decision to invest in education in Ethiopia. And we have to provide credible policy options. So we use evidences for that. And the other most important area is we do use evidences for our own development programming. We develop a business case, and well-informed, evidence-based interventions are critical for success. So we use that. We use evidence for that reasons. The other most important thing is we will be happy, and it's really, really important. National level policies and practices are informed by evidence. At the end of the day, we help the government of Ethiopia to realize its development objectives, particularly for education. The education sector development plan is our framework to support the government.
We do make use of the broader research, but it's not enough. I think it's too easy to get caught up in the operations and just evaluating those and thinking about the next phase. And that's why we really need to be thinking about different avenues, different ways of getting together and sometimes sharing our ignorance or sharing our discomfort with some things that we see as operational people that come out of the field, and it really looks strange, right? Looks surprising. And with researchers that have been digging into this information for a while and can maybe say, well, have you thought of A, B, and C? And I think that's really needed in a much more systematic way than we are able to do it at the moment.
I've always had a strong belief that the way in which international development research is conducted, and the best of it is always done in strong partnership or even led by southern partners, who understand their own context really well. It's about learning. So in a sense, it's research as development is the kind of way I look at this, and therefore I think that this is not just always about an instrumental outcome that's deliberative and that's easy to see, easy to spot. We need evidence for this, so we do that. I think it's about longer term learning and partnership. Again, it's not this linear kind of dissemination sort of process. It's more of a kind of a question of engagement, and what we talk about in DFID really is more about connecting people than necessarily collections. We can have dusty shelves full of the greatest and the best research reports and so on, but really it's about connecting people who know, and then socialising and disseminating evidence in that kind of way. I mean, that's really at the heart of the challenge for us, I think.
Based on my earlier work, we worked very closely with the Planning Commission in Bangladesh when the 7th Five-Year Plan was prepared. So we prepared a background paper on extreme poverty and worked very closely with the Planning Ministry, and also provided, organized a discussion on extreme poverty and provided some materials that can go into the 7th Plan document. The Planning Ministry found it useful, relevant, and we could manage to convince them that yes, these are relevant. This is not against the overall policy of the government or focus of the government, and then we have been able to influence them, and they could take it in the main document as well. So the main thing is the relationship building and working very closely and providing materials to the policymakers in a short, succinct, and non-technical and easily readable form.
Through building those coalitions, through partnerships, that one can create a kind of a constituency for change on a certain issue. So I think we need to have a much greater understanding of the issues, work in partnerships with local people, with local think tanks and agencies, and then adopt multiple ways and multiple channels of communicating our policy research to the governments. So I think those were the things I would say.
A lot of it is cyclic, so you need to keep on the process. Getting ownership and buy-in is quite a skill, quite a complex issue, and I think there needs to be more focus on local research institutions that can maybe have more influence within the cultural aspects of ministries, rather than all the access being from external researchers, which is why I think Young Lives has a very good leverage, because there's quite a lot of local researchers involved.
So in order to get your research paper to be used by decision maker at national level, that's an engagement with the ministries, but also with the researchers from the beginning, at the design phase of your research or your evidence that you want to produce later. So you need first to engage with them in the term of reference to make sure that your research question or the purpose of your study is going to be an interest for this minister or for this decision maker. So you have to find a balance between having a rigorous and technical sound methodologies and your objective of influencing a decision maker. So it's always a balance of, like I was trying to explain, to engage very good expert and national expert to build the national capacity in terms of research. So for instance, in Ethiopia, we have what we call the CRPF, the Child Research Practice Forum, which is chaired by the Ministry of Women and Children Affairs. And it's a forum for researchers to present and to disseminate their finding. And the audience of this forum is mainly directors of the Ministry of Women and Children Affairs and people working in NGOs or international development partner agencies. And so the researcher has to adapt to this audience and to keep their message very simple.
There are very practical ways in which to promote the work of academia. For organizations such as UNICEF, and it goes both ways. I mean, one is for academia to reach out and make this knowledge available and known, and the other is, of course, for an organization like UNICEF to as well reach out and be better at understanding the landscape of what exists before wanting to do specific research. More and more policymakers or organizations, people, we don't read. And there is nothing more valuable than a one-pager summary that clearly outline and explain what this research is about and what's the added value and how it can be useful.
In a sense, if we can capacitate, strengthen those advisors and those particular people, those champions, they can take the message across much more effectively. Then, strengthening the capacity of the staff. That is also very important. I worked in Nigeria, where the Ministry of Gender and Social Development has shared with me the fact that their own officials are unable to engage with the debates currently going on in the country, and therefore they are not aware, so they are not able to contribute to policy.
You can say to us, let's look at the work that you've done, and maybe the university can help us in terms of probably areas that we didn't realize we needed to address, but you have found that those are areas that are critical to the government of Malawi through the work that you've done. But you have to reach out to us, right? Say to us, you need to work with the Social Development Policy Division of EC. How can you work with us? And then we can get together and see how we can come together, because at the end of the day, we want to influence policy. And I know that's what you want to do.
I don't think the onus is on researchers to sort of, to dumb down or to make simple, because that's not the point of research, right? The point of research is to challenge dogmas and challenge us in thinking through what's happening. So yes, we can ask researchers to be clearer in their policy recommendations, but it doesn't. We sometimes don't know what questions to ask.